Thank you. I'm Mel Jenkins. I live in Columbia, and I represent Environmentalists Incorporated, a group that Ruth Thomas is a founder of, and that's been around since 1972. So we can probably address why they stopped construction. It's called 3 Mile Island. That shut down the nuclear industry back then, and maybe it's far enough away that we've forgotten 3 Mile Island. It came real close to a meltdown. The issues about safety and the nuclear industry need to be kept in front of people. There was a report recently that said when they shut down the nuclear reactor in Sacramento, California, they looked at the death rates in the 10 years following that and estimated that they had 4,000 fewer deaths than they had referenced the base models and that sort of thing. So shutting down that nuclear reactor probably saved 4,000 lives. What happens when you open one up? And that's another story. First of all, Environmentalists Incorporated does oppose, the directors, which I'm one, oppose the issuance of this permit. And we have a number of issues. Ruth wrote out a number of things, so I'll try to get all of hers in. I'd like to say that I understand the problem that DHEC has and everybody else in this has. I'd call it microscoping problems. In other words, you take a microscope, you put a slide under the microscope, and you look at what's there. You don't look at anything else that's around it. And that causes some problems. I mean, we could be having a tornado and a flood and a tsunami and that sort of thing, but the microscope shows everything's okay. Sorry, it's not all okay. The question of where the power is needed is another issue. I'd like to bring another point into this, the Appalachian Council of Governments. I've dealt with COGs, Councils of Government, and let me tell you, I would not rely on them for anything. They are driven entirely by the councils of government that they represent, in other words, the cities, and they are driven entirely by the business people in the area. So all they're really going to look at, will this mean more jobs? Will I get more money coming in? Well, they're probably wrong, but that's what they believe. So when you rely on the Appalachian Council of Governments, I don't. A lot of other issues in this. We do have to look at the basics of it. Heat and water, and this has not been fully dealt with. I would like to know what the difference in the viability in the streams will be with the droughts and throwing down the water, because that reduces the viability in the stream with the added heat going into the water. All of these are issues that really need more explication. Well, Ruth wrote down these things, and I've got my comments on the back. We'll see if we can get there. I have 7 minutes, maybe so. In the exchange of emails between the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Health and Environmental Control, Ruth comments, we notice that DHEC is more accepting of Duke's request for a water permit than is the EPA. We share EPA's concern regarding thermal impact, which would result from discharged water, and agree with EPA that monitoring is needed to check for excessive thermal pollution. Yeah, more than once a month for sure. The officials with the City of Union have called attention, and we reinforce that, to the problem of chemical discharges into the river. We also called attention to what Ms. Greenlaw was saying, that we really need to not get into this business of having one meeting an hour and 45 minutes away from where I live, and I don't know how many other people drove this. There should be hearings in every municipality along the broad river. You should go to them and have these meetings in their town council. You should give the people there a chance to speak up. According to the DHEC notice of March 4th, 2013, the Appalachian Council of Governments has determined that DHEC's done so. Well, I've talked about that. We don't see that there's any evidence to support the claim that there will be any benefits to people in South Carolina. If you're a shareholder of Duke Power, you may get a benefit out of it. The number of jobs created is minimal, far lower than jobs that would be created if we had solar and wind power and retrofitting buildings. Uncertainties regarding how far into the future before the 2 nuclear reactors may be operating. And we are subsidizing this. I think this needs to be brought up. We are paying for them to cut away our future. That's absurd. Whoever allowed that really should be on criminal charges. That's my comment, not Ruth's. The piecemeal approach of the NRC has been taking place all these years, resulting in crucial issues not being addressed. Again, the microscoping of issues. We will be submitting additional comments as we find evidence which attests to the need for DHEC to deny this discharge permit. Our experience in our contacts with decision-making agencies is that we are not getting appropriate responses to our questions and comments, and therefore we feel excluded from the decision-making process. Therefore, we ask that you carefully look at the comments we and others have made and give substantive answers to all of us individually and collectively. And again, that we have meetings in all the municipalities downriver from this proposed nuclear power plant, and maybe upriver too, because it will be affecting them. We already know that there are dangers. Pam lives in Columbia. I drink the Columbia water too, and I'm getting the tritium, and I don't care for that. Water and heat are the big issues that we will be supposedly addressing here tonight. And despite the rain outside, and that's climate change, sudden bursts of rain, and then droughts follow that. We know that. Oh, I'm sorry, Nikki Haley doesn't know that, but we know that. So we are looking at these serious issues in the Carolinas, the U.S., and the world. What we're talking about is dedicating a very large amount of water needed in this area and downstream, and it will be forever, basically, in our lives. Because once you issue this permit, it is a 20-year permit, which is automatically renewed. I mean, there's never been one turned down after the 20 years. Then they go for another 20 years. So it's for the invisible future. So what we need to do is to stop this now, and we stop it with this hearing on the basis of the damage to the people living downstream, to the damage to the creatures living in the river, and everything else. And don't forget, by the way, that when that water goes up in the evaporation towers, that it does not go back into the river, it goes up into the air. It changes the whole flow of rain, falls downwind, and so you're changing everything in the area by allowing this. I mean, it's a phenomenal thing. Nuclear power seemed like a great idea in the 1940s. It was going to be too cheap to monitor. The power, well, you wouldn't even need a meter. They were wrong. So what we need to do to protect the future of the Broad River, which is a major lifeline of South Carolina, is to turn this down. Well, this water permit needs to be turned down based on what damage it will do to living creatures and to everything else along the Broad River. Now, the next question, which I'd like to ask is, when is the water extraction permit scheduled? Has it been scheduled? Okay. Well, we do the microscoping again. Instead of us knowing when the water extraction permit is coming up, we'll do another little microscope on that. And I know that DHEC people are good people, and they're just trying to do their job. Good, good, good. Turn it down. Let's go down and stop this thing and rebuild it.